open just for feedback.
Yeah, let me just do that now.
Okay, I think we are live. Hello and welcome to Modular Podcast, the NAMM 2019 roundup. We'll do a quick hello, check in with everyone, see how it's going on. I'll show my fugly mug for a second. And the box, maybe I could sell the box for quite a bit of money. I picked up a mono machine keyboard version today.
Probably
could. I didn't know it was in box. The guy could have tried to get some more money out of me for that kind of thing. Not that I'd have played ball, but I hear people like to pay for synth boxes. So yeah, all good. My end. We'll quickly kind of go down the line and introduce everyone. Tom, how's it going? Is he frozen right as I ask him?
Good, thank you. Recovered from my house. Am I still frozen? Yeah, all good. Back from LA. Jet lag surpassed. Had a fantastic time at NAMM. Saw some amazing products and just sort of slowly coming back.
Yeah, if well, you're a little bit in and out, Tom. We'll see how it goes. But for anyone, how would you introduce yourself? What do you do? Where should people check you out and stuff?
So I work for a retailer called KMR Audio, who sell like high-end premium pro audio products and weird and wonderful synthesizers. So we do it's like 5U and Buchla and that kind of thing. So you might know me from that. And I'm also the guy you'd speak to if you're in Europe and your book. That's generally what people know me for.
Yeah, the European Buchla repair guy, which is a title, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the best way to explain what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, at least a good part of. And Matthew, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. Looking forward to getting back into the shows. Been a while.
Yeah. Of course, been various reasons for it taking some time, but yeah, me too. It's good to be back doing the live streams. You've a new release out that you should definitely shout out.
I've just finished. Oh, just went live this week. It's part of the totemic topology series that I've been doing, which is like music that's been created from airborne detritus, if you like, things that have blown into my garden. And that's the only sound sources that I've used. And this is the second part.
I remember you just saying to me, I've been making music with things that blow into the garden. And I said we should do a Bradford edition, but I won't say what I said about Bradford. But it wasn't very pleasant things that may blow into my garden.
They were the start. They were used as the sample material. So whatever it has to be airborne, if you like. It just blows in. So just to see where it kind of took me, and then obviously all that impacts on the piece of equipment that I use with it. So yeah, it's been a nice project so far.
Yeah, it really kind of blissed out ambient, which maybe isn't what people would think from physical objects. But we're going to do a video about that and get into that shortly, because I'm really curious as well. Greg, how's it going?
Good, yeah. Looking forward to getting into NAMM. It's been a good NAMM, which I wasn't expecting this year. It's good on the previous last couple of wasn't really expecting too much, and when I looked at videos coming out from it, there is quite a lot of exciting stuff.
It seems quieter, but it seems there's some really solid products, which I guess is something that I wanted to touch on. And people announcing stuff as NAMM news that weren't at NAMM seems bigger than ever as well. Yeah. The new NAMM is the not NAMM hashtag by the stuff I can make of it. And last but not least, of course, we've got Corry from Beatppl and Bboy Tech. How's it going?
Yo, what's going on, people? Yeah, man. Just a dude named Corry Banks, Bboy Tech. Just here to join the crew and talk about NAMM, man. It's funny what you said about the not NAMM, because it really was that kind of thing. I found myself traveling around LA. So here's the interesting thing. Me being rather local, I'm about, I'm a commute away from the convention center.
Okay.
And not a daily commute, but a drive up. And I usually get a room down there, so I don't have to do that long commute back and forth for the days. But then I found myself with a room near the convention center and driving to LA to these various places to try to see the stuff that was not at NAMM. It was a weird thing.
Yeah, you'd probably been better going up the other way or even staying at home.
Yeah, just staying at home and kind of hitting a few different places. It probably would have been a different story.
I wonder if we can do that one year. If between us, we can kind of collectively do a not NAMM show. And we'll fly out to LA, we'll make the effort, but we won't go into NAMM. And we'll just see what surrounding events are there. And we've, you know, in a couple of years, that might actually be the whole thing for Sims.
Yeah, you're right.
But, well, we'll touch on that while we're kind of joking around with it. But there was Moog weren't there, Teenage Engineering weren't there. We were talking earlier about Rossum looked like he wasn't there, but he was just in
kind of in the back cave.
Obviously, we had Make Noise announcing as well that didn't have a booth. I like that Tony had the modular in the car. I don't know if anyone saw Ed at Sonic State bumped into Tony from Make Noise. And they obviously are aware that the Q Pass has been announced, but they don't have a booth. And Tony's like, well, I've got one in the boot. You know, I carry a shared system, like that's the default travel bag. So pulled it out and kind of went into the press room, did a video with them. Did anyone else, did you go to the, was it Perfect Circuit that were holding events around as well?
Yeah, I went there. It was very cool. You know, I got to tell you, I talked to the good folks from Make Noise while I was there. And what I noticed is I've been to a lot of those Perfect Circuit events. But what I noticed with this one, it was kind of the most packed I've ever seen the place. It was like a rock star had landed at Perfect Circuit, man. I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was, you know, I came into the place and I was standing at the door for a long time because, you know, you come in, you're at the door in the front of the place is where the counter is. And that's where they set up the performance or the demo. And it was just packed. I mean, it was people everywhere. I had to kind of push my way through just to get up to where they said the beer was. And when I got up there, I was like, I don't want a beer. Where's the pizza? They were like, back there. I'm like, I pushed my way back through this thing. So, but it was fun, man. It was good. It was jam-packed in there.
Did you make it out to the Moog? I don't know what you don't call it a symposium, do they? But the room that they kind of take over for a week.
Yeah,
House of Electronicus, it's called.
Yes, House of Electronicus. Yeah. It was a pop-up store, and being in LA, I wish it was a permanent store. But yeah, I did. I made it out there, and twiddled around a lot with the Moog one. I looked up. I had been messing with it for so long because that's a goal of mine. I've been messing with the Moog one for so long. I looked back, and there was people standing back there like, hello, us too.
Did you make it out as well then, Tom, to the Moog House of Electronics?
Yeah, I managed to get up there with a couple of friends. Yeah, had an amazing time on the Moog one. It's actually the first time I played one. And that thing is just, you know, as Corry will agree, it's just unbelievably good. Such a good synth. And it was an amazing store as well. I mean, great artwork. Basic was there actually. Whilst I visited, doing like a video on, I think it was like 6D fams or something. It sounded absolutely awesome.
I saw,
you know,
sorry, I was just going to say, I saw our friend Alex Myler Melodies kind of just suitably bobbing head along to Basic in that. And I think one of the videos, I can't remember which channel it was on, but yeah. Did you try? I was curious about this because it did. There's a lot of people just saying, "Oh, they must have had a lot of Minotaur cases lying around they needed to fill." But the new, is it Siren? They're calling this.
Yeah.
Siren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to play with one?
I did indeed. They had a few hooked up with Keystep Pro, nice delay. Yeah, sounded lovely. Obviously, a much wider range than the Minotaur, and it actually fits that category quite nicely. It does leads really nicely. It can do like nice, you know. It's got a much wider range. The filter, I'm not sure if it suits that wider range because it's still, I believe, it's still the same Minotaur style filter, but looks cool, sounds cool. They're not making loads of them, you know. Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of repurposing it. You know, to be honest, my thought with all that, in terms of comments, was I don't really care if it is just the case that they had a load of them lying around and they needed to get rid of them. It's like, so what? Because the Minotaur having that Taurus filter, I have a friend, dance producer, like the EDM boom, kind of riding that in the States. I was a couple of years ago. Absolutely loves it and gets some great sounds out of it. So if it's been extended, kind of all for that and making use of it. It's kind of nice little format, kind of half the size of a Mother 32 or any of those other kind of desktops.
I wonder why they've done
like kind of studio applications it can store. Well, for studio applications, it can store a ton of presets. It's got like a VST plugin editor as well, which is quite cool. Something that, you know, for example, like the grandmother doesn't have or doesn't have. So it does its place in that kind of studio opinion. Someone that just wants like instant gratification. You know, give me a bass sound. There you go.
Yeah, my friend used the editor alongside DAW projects. It was just like, yeah, I don't like having a compressor or a reverb unit on an insert or something, or an old tape delay that you just run as a send and return on a mixer. It's just like, I don't even look at the thing. It's just midied up. It comes into whatever channel it does on the interface. It sounds great. I recall the preset with a whole project. It works, which I think is a nice kind of valid thing, as much as wanting to just twiddle the knobs. What about you, Corry? Did you get to check it out?
Yeah, I checked it out, man. I like that they had a few of them set up. Look with a key step, and then they all had a reverb pedal connected to them too. But yeah, man, I thought it was pretty nice. Is it something that I would get? Probably not, because I have stuff that's kind of that does that. But I do think that if I was a person that was into had been wanting a Minotaur and just hadn't pulled the trigger, I would probably get this, because here's the thing: you lose 10 hertz of range at the bottom end, but you gain all of this other range at the top end.
All right.
Yeah. So I guess, what did it go down to? 10 hertz. The original Minotaur, and because I was talking to the guy, so they said it goes down to 10 hertz. But now that they've rearranged it so you can get the top end, it only goes down to 20 hertz, which is okay. That's the human hearing range, right? Yeah. 20 hertz. The rest of it is stuff you feel. Yeah. So, but I played with it. The leads sound nice. I mean, I could honestly see why people would go and grab that, man. But it goes so high. There was a point when I was like, why on earth would you ever need those high notes up there like that? But at the same time, it sounds good, and I like the form factor. I've always kind of liked the form factor of the Minotaur.
Yeah, it looks like it fit into the sort of someone wanting to do kind of, just kind of pop-up gig type stuff. It's quite small, just put it on a desktop.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm really digging the aesthetic that Mo's going for with this and the grandmother. These kind of welcoming, brightly coloured kind of things. Yeah, I'm really digging that.
At first it was kind of jarring. You know what I mean? Like when I saw the colors, like I guess with the grandmother, at first I was just kind of like, come on. But that's just, initial reactions. But like I have a grandmother sitting here. Now that I have it, I'm like, this thing is beautiful. And I like the way the siren looks too. So when I was talking to the guys over at the pop-up shop, they were telling me that one of their marketing guys went and researched all the popular sort of in vogue sort of colors of the 70s, right? All the color palettes from the 70s. And then they decided to kind of, base all of this stuff on it, at least for now in this season of Moog. So I kind of dig what they're doing.
It looks like they've gone back and hit the archives though as well, because you can see these colors in their older products. I don't mean all together like this, but certain colors seems to, like think on like the Moog, the Opus, I think that's got various color, in the actual time. Reminds me of this kind of thing.
Yeah. The thing about the range though, like, even decent studio monitors are rolling off at 70 hertz. They're starting to roll down, and that's decent studio monitors. The weight of like a kick or a bass is like around 80, and then like a clean sine wave at like 40, 50 you can get away with. But to say, we've lost a bit of range, it starts at 20 hertz now. It's like, well, you're going to high pass all that out anyway. So
yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's right. Right.
Even bass, you know, mastering engineers high pass higher than 20 hertz sometimes. So it's like, you know, but I like that they've extended it and brought it back into their range. But we'll jump into the Euro stuff. What was I'll go you first, Tom. Let's start with we're not going to do like lists or anything like that, but if there is one, and it doesn't matter if not, just pick one to start with, like Euro rack highlight of NAMM for you. Tom and Corry went, me, Matthew and Greg didn't. We're just observers. But what was the highlight, Tom?
I've got two actually. One of them is a group of modules, so that will be the red panel stuff.
Cool.
Buchla.
We'll start there.
Yeah, we'll start there. So that's Buchla basically teaming up with Catalyst Audio. So you guys probably recognize that from NAMM last year. I think was its first public outing, and then Super Booth. A guy called David's been spearheading Catalyst Audio, doing really excellent, faithful recreations of Don Buchla's 100 series systems in Eurorack format. And Eric Fox, who now owns Buchla USA, has been working with David to basically bring this under Buchla's wing and bring out an affordable range of Eurorack modules. And there was also, I think, 2 new modules. So you've got like the stored voltage source along the middle, and I think, can't remember what the one on the left bottom is, but that was definitely new as well. So yeah, they're no longer Catalyst Audio. They've been rebranded Red Panel, which is a nod to who was it? Someone dipped back in the 60s. Someone dipped a Buchla panel in LSD, and they all licked the panel before playing with the system, and it was dubbed the Red Panel. So it's a nod to that. So that was one of my my biggest highlights. Been waiting for these for a while. Yeah, system sounded amazing, really, really good. Very, very different to 200E. 200E is a bit more kind of, how can I best explain it? It's a bit more like lab equipment. It's very, very precise, very, very bright and very, very powerful. And this has a bit more of that kind of 60s raw kind of, I don't want to say sci-fi, but that kind of vibe. It's definitely got that more kind of, yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, you can get really sharp, precise stuff out of it, but it definitely leans towards that kind of more sci-fi experimental Buchla kind of stuff. Yeah, it's marvelous. It's really good, really, really good.
For me, it seems like
range on that at the moment.
Sorry, Matthew, go on again.
I was going to say, what have we got any price? Because I definitely see that as a system. You know, it's like take that away, that complete unit for me, because it's got a spring reverb.
Yeah, so that actual, what you see there, I believe, and Eric's going to slap me on the wrist if this is wrong, but I believe that's the system they're going to ship. That is a case. So you might recognize that case. It looks a lot like a 200E case. I think the sides are actually made by the same guy. So yeah, I believe that's what the system is going to be. No idea on price yet, because it's being rebranded from Catalyst to Red Panel. So I think they're doing something with the manufacturing. Not entirely sure, but yeah, I'll be one of the first to find out.
Do you think there'll be banana connections as well, or is it just going to be Euro?
No, all Euro. So 3.5 mil, 1 volt per octave. You know, completely Euro friendly. Which yeah, brilliant. Really, really good.
I like Matthew, for me, it's more about it being a system. And I imagine the sum of the parts is greater than any one of those modules.
Yeah.
You know, running through a more primitive filter is part, mixer even, is part of the grunge. It's not a nice, clean, modern hi-fi mixer circuit. And the same with it. And I remember the drivers for the spring reverbs. Now, we spoke to Dave at Super Booth when it was Catalyst, and he was saying that's one of the things that's not quite authentic, because there'd be like some sort of $25-$30 driver component, he said, which is ridiculous in terms of modern components. So that was a bit of a redesign. I put each module individually. I mean, I don't know until I try it, and obviously it wasn't at NAMM, but I'm not sure I'm as interested. I am, and I'm not. Do you know what I mean? The system really appeals. That really outshines the I've got to have that 6-channel mixer kind of, or I've got to have that spring reverb. Because even on, and it's why I've still got the SH09 from Roland, there's just something about that synth. And there's clones of the filter that are really accurate and all this other stuff, but there's just something about it as a full voice. And I imagine that's where all this beauty really just comes out, in that, you know, all these little stages of 60s circuit design must add up. And
that's kind of the thing with Buchla synths, though, right? Like it's really about the whole. That people go for Buchla. Obviously, it's a very specific sort of sound and aesthetic, but it's about system, right? Like everything else, you buy a piece, a bit, a thing, a mix and match. But Buchla is like, hey, that's whole,
an instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same with Surge to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, at Buchla and Surge, you can obviously get re-panels of different stuff. I know that some of the mutable stuff's been repurposed by Grayscale into Buchla. They've got a kind of dual braids, and I think there's an ornament of crime in Buchla that I've seen, and other bits of things to expand those systems. And Surge is primarily bought in panels, in rows. I just really like that idea of just, here's the instrument, or here's just a couple of parts of the instrument that you put together. And you can, if you want, and go out of your way, but you're not building a kind of Franken synth of Euro stuff. What about you, Greg? Buchla, is that for you, or not sure? Or
I think, like you said, I'd have the whole system, but any single module there doesn't really appeal to me. Like the clone of the 256 is a complete 256 clone, I think, is it, Tom? Yeah. Whereas
I believe so.
We have it's kind of expanded on that, and a lot of those ideas have been expanded on as single modules, because you need a bit more. If you're putting any of those as one module, I think you need a little bit more. But as a system, I mean, it's great. I'd love to play with it. If that's it, I'll definitely have a play.
What's the you can help dictate the order of this. We've got a list that we're running from in terms of the order stuff we want to talk about. But what was the second kind of highlight, Tom?
It's really, really minor. It's a 2 HP offset generator. Love little things like that. It's so small and insignificant, but it makes such a big difference to my life. Yeah, love seeing that. I was super, super happy about that. And I played with the cat module loads because I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I like the cat thing. But I spotted with the cat when they released that. I can't remember who it was. It might be Matthew or Greg even. I said they're going to release a sample player because they've just put a cat panel over what must be sample playback. Yeah, the offset, I know, like I said, it's insignificant, but it isn't when you need one and you can't generate one because you just don't have the module to do it. But nor do you need some super utility at the same time. Yeah, I mean, for quite cheap, I like that it's just there's 0 to 5, there's 0 to 10, there's -5 to +5. Done. I do find myself using the Mordax data has reference voltage outputs, and it's really accurate for calibration or just for making sure things are opening properly. And I use that quite a bit. So yeah, that's a nice little touch. Didn't they have? I'm thinking of something else. I was going to say
they announced something else or showed another thing too. Was it?
Yeah, they had like a granular sampler that I was checking out with Alex. Something that was kind of cloudy, I believe.
There's 4 new modules. The granular processor is more like the. I mean, I'm not in code. I'm not saying they're related, but the grain shift that Audio Damage released in their first original lineup, where it doesn't freeze anything like say Clouds does. It's always live input, and you've got CV over mixed density and frequency with a volt per octave on it, so you can do the kind of granular pitch shifts and smearing and that kind of crackly thing that you can do with
fine shift. So if it's like that in 2 HP, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I still love that module.
Well, it's $149, so it's cheap, like, and it's one of those that, you know, even just for percussion, like, it's maybe not the goal of the module, but if you're making techno, and you just want to make the clap sound that bit different, run some grains over it and pitch it down a little bit and mix a bit in very little space. Or, you know, just have this nice air pitched up or down around a pad or something. I think it's a really good idea. I'll mention the others quickly. We can
great. It's really good.
Yeah, they've also got the sine wave VCO that's got a sub output and a blendable wave folder. I mean, it's getting pretty ridiculous in 2HP.
Yeah, no doubt.
Square wave then?
I don't know if the subs are square. I presume so.
I can't remember.
But I don't mean ridiculous like in a bad way. It's just like they just keep bringing.
They're jamming a lot of functionality into this 2HP space. You know what I mean?
They've got those. I don't know if it's the SEM chips, that reissue chips, but they have their other VCO is analog. And I was talking to one of the guys at 2HP, and we're going to do some more 2HP Tuesdays videos. And I'm like, you know what would be cool? Having a truly polyphonic quad oscillator in 8HP. We need 4 of those. So we're having that conversation at the minute.
Yeah.
Like, it's mad. Like, and all right, it's maybe not going to be the fold knob that you want to jam on when you're playing wave folded bass lines or whatever, but it's crazy. And then the other one was Bell, which you get a bit like the Pluck, I guess, but the Bell equivalent, a resonator modal synthesis type voice. Again, CV over everything, volt per octave pitch. Yeah.
What I like about the stuff, to say only 2HP, none of them look really crammed either, do they? Like the interface design still has space.
Yeah.
Those 2HP, which is crazy.
They're only crammed when they're next to each other.
Yeah.
But the actual design of that standalone, no, they're not crammed in. And when there's jacks in, you can still get to those mini pots. And they're mini pots. I know some people don't like them at all, but you can't fit a knob on without it overhanging.
You're saying you better start distributing them around your system rather than having all of them together?
For me, yeah, I think so. And I think when you look at what they're offering, like that offset generator, if you just need one next to a filter to get it into a range that you want, or you've got an audio oscillator, but you really like it as an LFO, so you need to plumb -3 volts into it. You know, it's barely any space to just put next to something. And there's such a wide range of Turing machine, random generators, the pluck, the reverb, the delay.
Yeah.
This part of the conversation I was having with them, that you could build a drum machine in so little space, which, all right, maybe you wouldn't want all of it just crammed up. It would be like an even smaller version of the Erica Pico system, but it's impressive. And to have things that are all analog as well, it isn't just a case of they've got one processor that they just keep recoding stuff on top of. You know, they're cramming a lot in there. And some of it sounds great. I think their Play sampler as well is one that I really wanted to check out, although that was announced a short while ago. I'll just pull that up for anyone that's not seen it. So it's mono, and I think someone was moaning that it wasn't stereo, and it's like, man, come on, it's 2HP.
That's right, exactly.
You
gotta give it to 2HP, man. I mean, they make some really nice modules. I mean, I have their delay and their verb and the kick, snare, and hat. I love it all. Well, and I use their verb and delay a lot. You know what I mean? They're just good. That's just, you know, no two ways around it. They just make really good stuff in a small package.
Well, just like,
right, when you got them all next to each other, they can get a little cramped, because I have them all in my bigger case. They're all kind of right next to each other, and I know when I go over there, I'm kind of cramping my fingers up to get in there. But
pieces out.
Yeah.
But like Play there, it's 48 kilohertz, 24-bit, so it's high, you know, nice high sample rates, bit depths. There's no naming convention for files on the SD card, which is a massive plus. Yeah, not having to output certain file types in certain orders, and, you know, just bung any old WAV file on there kind of thing. Volt per octave pitch, it will loop, it will one shot, up to 32 samples. Again, I think it's great. Just kind of pile that stuff in, and yeah, you're off. So it's a good shout out, that one, I think. And the offset as well, I can think of places that I'd need it and uses. Nice if you mix it with a pitch CV before a quantizer. and then you've got like a stepped. Well, it's not stepped. It will go through the quantized tones, rather than having to go back to your coarse tuning. It's quite a nice way of adding a different kind of tuning control to stuff. But yeah, we'll go down again. Corry, you've been there. Any personal highlight or place you'd like to start?
Yeah. So I got Qubit. And the reason I say Qubit, there's a couple things, and I'll say this other thing too, but the Force, Akai, and the Akai Force, but Qubit is something that stood out to me because I use Qubit chord all the time. Like it's one of those things for me that is just kind of always going to be used, right?
You know, when I saw this, it was you and Greg, because I was like, boy, you two are going to be excited.
Oh yeah, you know it. You know,
Greg's a big chord user as well.
Yeah. I love Qubit chord, man, and when I was so surprised to see that they had basically a MK2. You know what I mean? And it's half the size with triple the functionality. It's insane.
Yeah, what's not to like? You know, it's smaller and got more.
Yeah. I mean, it's really an incredible thing that they were able to do that. And so here's the thing that I thought was really cool, and I'm still having my guys are still editing up my videos, so they'll be trickling out over the next week or so or something. But this particular video that I did when I was talking to Andrew from Qubit, I just wanted to tell him, like, hey, do you remember? Like, okay, of course he remembers, but I was just saying, listen, when I first heard about chord, it was like a year, the NAMM before it was actually came out. And it was a very different device. And I have a video up on YouTube that has that original kind of original chord design. And it was analog, and there was a lot of, it just looked very different. And then when chord finally came out, it was like, oh, it's the chord that we know now. And so for these years later to see it kind of morph and kind of have its evolution to become this smaller, so much more refined chord with banks and wave tables and all this stuff. I mean, it's just crazy, man. I love what they've done with it. So that was a huge highlight for me.
Yeah. What about you, Greg? Did you catch this straight away?
I did, yeah. I think as I was going through the video and I was listening to Andrew talk about it, he just gave us everything that I wanted from chord. It was, first of all, more waveforms. Obviously, wanted more of that. Wanted to be able to individually sequence different parts of it. So when he was sequencing the 7th over the chord, I mean, that's a really, really good. And to be able to go into minor and just have everything to lock to minor or major was a massive one for me. Like because you almost had to offset it to keep it in. It seemed to favor, the old chord seemed to favor major more than minor. For whatever.
Yeah, it had like a major root, didn't it? I think when someone worked it out, it might have been Matt Tech from Matt Tech Modular. If you put in 0.65 volts, it's offset perfectly to the relative minor. It's like
you had that locked in.
No one's got I mean, you could do it with a 2 HP offset, but no one's very specifically calculating that volt. You could do it by ear, you just hear it step up, but yeah, to reroute it harmonically very differently, I thought was a massive thing. And like you said, being able to sequence one of the notes, almost like you could do it. Shame it doesn't have a bagpipes mode. It's chordal drone and melody line over the top, which I'm joking about bagpipes, obviously, but sitar and harmonium, there's loads of kind of cultural versions of chord drones plus melody. That was a really nice trick with the 2 HP pluck. When the decay was full, it would sustain infinitely, and it would do it up to 4 notes. A bit like how Rings has that polyphonic overlap. So if you fire in 3 notes or 4 notes and then change the volt per octave, the previous 3 notes stick and hold a chord, and you can get it to hold and then play a melody over. I think they've made the kind of ultimate chord machine. When I saw it, I was just like, yeah, all the musical stuff's in there. There's a ton more CV and control and wavetables. Kind of, why would you bother with anything else? I continuously mess around tuning oscillators, which is great fun and can lead to other things. But yeah, it's like, yeah, if you're performing or something, you just chuck one of them in the case.
I think the thing is as well, the fact is, all these extra features that they've added, I think if you had brought it out just as the original chord, people would have just been really happy as well. It's the fact that it's all those features and it's smaller. It's the really like, wow, you know.
There's the secret, because I could still have my chord module and half the space and put something else next to it. All right. So not only has he like reinvented one of my favorite modules, but he's given me a new lease on my case.
Well, you can even, I guess you can leave that HP space and make the voice more interesting. I mean, it's already more interesting with wavetables, but you go, okay, I'm going to throw a filter in there, a nice distortion, and a nice delay or chorus that I think works well. Or that's a really, or like you said, you gain half the HP for something else entirely.
Yeah, and can you show it again, Ben?
Yeah.
Like the thing is, what I would have, here's the one thing I would have liked to see, because they're going to put a SD card, I guess, so you can put your wavetables. I would have liked to see that on the front panel.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it came as an afterthought to the design, but it's going to be, because I asked them, like, I came back another day, it was like, hey, excuse me, I'm not filming, I just want to play with this. Right? And so sat there, kind of messed around with it and started talking about, you know, loading your own wavetables and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we're going to put a slot on the back. I'm not a fan of that idea.
No.
Right? I wish it was going to be on the top, but, you know, having the ability, but I can tell you that having that ability, I'll probably put my collection of wavetables on a dedicated SD card, and I'll put it in there, I'll screw that thing down, and I'll never touch it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That'd be the way to spend an afternoon doing that. And then it's done.
If it's chords on the SD card, though, I really like the idea of just, for a certain gig or project, just removing chord types that you don't want to exist.
All right, yeah.
It creates some restriction around, it makes, say, random voltage more interesting, because you might be like, oh, God, that diminished chord just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen at all. I love the idea if you could just pull that off the SD card. You know, you just put in the 3 or 4 chord tones that you really like, and then you just throw everything at it, and you're in this kind of nice safety net. I mean, it will all be musical because it's all tied to chord tones, but there's still going to be some tones that won't work for everything. I like that safety net. It's the same when using actual quantizers with, you know, where you, note by note, you can punch them in and out. You can be just like, I don't want a B flat to exist in this piece because it clashes with something else or whatever it is. Well, it's never, to be honest, for me, it's never a particular note because I don't tune it to anything else. But whatever B flat on the quantizer is plus whatever the oscillator's tuned to. I think I'd just tune chord in and tune to that. That'd be my way of working with it. But yeah, they've got some other stuff though, Qubit. The Bloom looks like they've gone, okay, Cherry Machine's interesting. Marbles is interesting. Let's go one further.
Yeah.
I like the Bloom. I don't see myself having it, but once it was kind of explained how it works, and I kind of dig what it does and the kind of flexibility that you have. So I think that was a good introduction, a good piece to introduce to the line.
I think the thing that's really interesting is that patterns can be saved and recalled. So obviously with a Cherry Machine, you can loop it. You find something you like, you loop it, you can deviate away, but you can't go back to it. And it's the same with Marbles. Marbles takes it further again because you can let the gates be locked in terms of the rhythmic patterns, but let the CV change or not, and it's all variable. It's not just on or off. But this, you can actually just go back to a pattern. So I love the idea of just completely drifting away. And then I don't know if it's a button press or you have to turn a knob all the way down or what interface it is to do that. But I just love the fact that you can go right back to as it was.
Yeah. So it's, I can't remember if it's branches or mutation, but one of those, you know, the further right you turn it, the more you vary the sequence and the pattern. But then when you turn it all the way back to the left, then you've locked in whatever it was you heard that you liked, and where you can go back to the original sequence. So with those couple knobs, you can kind of vary the pattern or just go back to what you lock in, what you like. So it's pretty cool way they've done it.
Yeah, and multiple outputs, multiple gates, clock. It seems like an interesting way of kind of exploring. Well, it's that kind of weird boundary between random and sequenced. And it's a really interesting place to be, I think. I know people like Ibsidic, but previously VCO ADSR and Myla Melodies, Alex, they've gone out and let Turing machines dictate patterns in, you know, beat-based techno sets or electro sets. And both of them have said they've had terrible sets because of it. But then at other times, really magic moments have happened. So I think this would potentially allow the performance you to have a bit more of control of the magic moment and a bit less of the crap. I think it would work. And there's enough control in CV to do a lot. What was Prism like, Tom or Corry? Did you get to check that one out?
I really like Prism. As a matter of fact, I want to have it live with the new chord, as a matter of fact.
All right.
And you'll be able to do that now it's smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a pretty nice, I don't even know. I mean, I guess it's signal processing. You know, there's some effects in there. Feels like there's a filter in there. There's a couple of things going on. And you get in there and start modulating things. You can have some pretty interesting things. So you got a couple filter types, right? And then what else? The comb resonator. Then, you know, there's something like a time. So it's kind of like a delay. So yeah, some really nice stuff in there, man.
It seems just like an interesting, well, it says there, a 3-dimensional sonic space. But you could reroute one of the videos I saw, because it has a bit crusher, so you can bring in all that top end or a sample rate reducer. But then you could put the filter after it to clean it back up, or put it beforehand and let all the noise come through.
Oh, that's good.
So it seemed like a really nice way of that kind of pre or post EQ filtering thing that everyone debates over. And you could just do either, which seemed nice. It seemed to do a freezing kind of thing. I don't know if that's a granular effect, or I wondered if it'd be not open source, but kind of open platform, because I've seen Eli from Mystic Circuits he'd repurposed the Nebulae as a delay unit, I think. He'd rewritten some firmware for Nebulae, so I wonder if it will be open platform. And I'm hoping that the filter and like the decimate isn't. I like the idea of a central DSP that's programmable, but then you've always got this filter pre or post, decimate pre or post, and you slot something in. It is an assortment of DSP, so maybe they've got a lot more coming as well. Prism's the first one to come, right? So they've announced that's March, Chord's May, and Prism Bloom is September. So they've kind of laid their year out already.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I actually went I don't know, the day after I kind of went and demoed it, I went to their site like hoping I could pre-order Chord. But it's not quite ready yet. So I just emailed Andrew, like, get the pre-order up. I'm gonna have to have that right away.
So the Akai Force as well, mixed demos on that one in terms of what I've said. There's a few little bits I'd seen, but both you could see the apparent power in it.
So I've had the Force for, I don't know, about a month. I got it around the end of December, something like that. And, you know, so I've been doing some testing and you know, so there's things that I know about it that have been fixed in firmwares, because beta testing is kind of like that. But nonetheless, I've made a whole album that I'm going to be releasing with this. You know what I mean? So the album is called Rum Punch, and it's really kind of like a mod bap, modular boom bap sort of groove.
Is that like pirate hip hop? Like you've been drinking too much rum and getting blurry and
pretty much.
No, straight away.
So it's got a good punch, and then you know you feel a little wavy and.
No, but right away the kind of golden thing you said was, "I've made an album on it," and it's like instantly. I don't care about. I mean, we're going to discuss it obviously, but I don't care about anything else. If that inspired you to make some music and an album, then it's a winner for us, at least a group of people.
Yeah, certainly.
That's really cool. So what is it about it that kind of inspired, well, that instant music making, I guess?
So I think there's something about, you know, I'm an MPC guy, right?
Yeah.
And so then one of my biggest things was always wanting to make sure I incorporated modular music, modular synthesis into boom bap, and that's where this whole mod bap terminology comes from. But the thing with the MPC, you could do it. It has looper and all of this kind of stuff. You can capture your loops, and I'll always do the whole sequence and then capture the individual parts as loops. Then I'll have to go back on the MPC and fly them in on the one or wherever it is, or record an audio track. But with this, it was something that was a little different about the workflow. So you get the sort of MPC drum pads. And if you notice, like on the bottom left there, the white pads that you're showing, that's the default like 16 pads.
Right. Yeah.
But because obviously the grid, you can have that goes like bank AB across the bottom, then bank CD across the top. So if you've used the MPC, you have to hit the bank button to get through those banks A, B, C, and D. With this, you got all of your chops right there in front of you. So you might mix bank A pads with bank C pads or whatever it might be, which is not a typical thing. It opens up creativity a little bit. And then being able to capture audio directly into clips really easily and move on. You know what I mean? And copy those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I'm not an Ableton push to guy. I had push to for a while. But I think it removed me too far away from the MPC workflow. So I went back to the MPC. And so I've been doing that. But I think this kind of marries those two workflows perfectly. And it was just inspiring to have the Moog grandmother. My toolkit was basically the Force, the Ocos, the Moog grandmother, and an H9 effects pedal. And, you know, I used, it's actually called Rum Punch Experiments in Arpeggiation. So it's mod bap with a lot of arpeggiation and just kind of beautiful soundscapes and, you know, that hip hop oomph, man. So it inspired that, and there's so much more to come on it. So I really dug that, and I was glad that people finally got a chance to see it.
Corey, has the software for this one been changed from the likes of the MPC Live and the MPC-X? Has it been to fit the format, or is it kind of just like MPC 2.3 with like expanded pads? Because the demos I've seen haven't been too clear.
Mm-hmm. It's very different. I'll tell you this. I tested it in standalone because that's what was available, right? So all the time I've had it, it's only been in standalone and not really using it with any software. So I really don't know the plan there just yet, but I can say that, you know, when you go into that screen on an MPC, you have programs. On this, you have tracks, right? But your tracks are giving you the, you know, if you have a drum program with your samples or your drums on it and you go edit track, then you're going to see the program editor from the MPC. But if you're on a plugin and you go edit track, then you're going to see the graphical user interface from the actual plugin synth, right? So it just depends on what it is. I think they've done a good blend of those two workflows, but it does feel a lot like an MPC from the touchscreen, right? So the way you chop samples and all of that, it's all really MPC with kind of like this clip launching workflow strapped on top of it.
There's another video I saw. One of the guys from Mako was saying that all of the, if you make a project on the MPC software, it's fully compatible with both Force and the MPC series. So I'm wondering if you could make something on the MPC Live, for example, or if you've got an existing project and port it over. Not entirely sure. I'd be interested to know if that's the case.
So I've opened programs, like drum programs from the MPC to this one, but I haven't opened full projects, right, with the sequences and everything. Because here's the thing, the sequencing on this is different than the sequencing on the MPC. So the sequencing on the MPC is really about the sequence, and then you have tracks within that sequence, and you scroll through the tracks and do whatever it is you're going to do. But this doesn't have that sort of sequence and track setup. It's really about clips and scenes. So it doesn't, you know, it's all about those clips. So it's a little different than that. So I haven't loaded any of my MPC projects in it yet, but I plan to. But you know why I haven't done that is because I've just been too inspired. So I'm creating new stuff on the thing. You know what I mean?
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I really like the idea, and I'm not MPC workflow. I'm not particularly tied to Ableton either generally, but I love the idea that the studio, the workstation, effectively is also the performance instrument. That there's the boundaries are so blurred between the two. And what you did on stage in terms of the way that clips were launched or the live little drum thing you jammed over the top of your loops or whatever, you capture it and then you bring it back and it's just there. I really like this idea of this hybrid. And you can do it on a laptop, but it never feels the same.
Mm-hmm.
I do great in the video with Sonic State where it had 2 bars looping of sequence, but then also the drum pads MPC style in the bottom left. You kind of had both workflows at once because there was enough pads to do it. I like that idea. Yeah,
and you know that I think that's what inspired me really, because I can work in my regular MPC style, right? Like programming beats, but then I can capture the stuff that was coming in from my synths, whether it's a grandmother or whether it's an Ocos or anything on my rack, and I can capture that stuff, but then bringing up the XY effects where you can do sort of the KP3 thing, you know what I mean? And
like chaos pad stuff,
right? The whole chaos pad stuff. So that is what kind of inspired this whole run punch thing, because now I have the beats that I'm making and I was able to perform them seamlessly and capture the performance, and then that's what became the individual tracks of the album that I'm making.
I think this does really mark, in my mind, like a real sea change in their kind of products, in the way that, well, all of them, like I've not been attracted particularly to, you know, the live push and stuff. You know, I've kind of looked and they thought, no, I've still got to have computers connected, etc. This now seems it's just that one piece where if you live in the studio and that's all you do in the studio, it's good for that. But if you're the sort of person that is doing live events and studio stuff, you just pick this device up and go. You know, the fact is that we're not mentioning as well the CV and gate in this device. Where I thought Akai dropped the ball prior to on their other, what was the other one called? That kind of.
Didn't the X have it, but the live didn't, or something?
Yeah, like the live.
Exactly.
In my mind, needed that more.
Yes.
You know, because I thought that would have been the golden ticket for me, of just being able to go take that out. You've got other modular equipment connected to it. That's you know, like an Octatrack, effectively. It would have been the killer of the Octatrack. It'd have had a CV on there, but this has, so yeah, it's great.
I definitely think that was a missed opportunity with the MPC Live to not have the CV on there, but this one having it is it's kind of brilliant, and I think that's what kind of made it inspiring. So you know, with the X, you got 8 CV gate outs, right? So on this one, you have 4. But it's the idea of having any one device that can bring all of those different workflows and things together is brilliant. That's the way I look at it. So not only do you have the MPC sort of editing and pads, but then you have the grid with the clip launching sort of thing, plus CV and MIDI, right? Like I was able to bring a lot of different things together that before I wouldn't have been able to. Like a few years back, this would have taken a lot more crap to put together to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Just taking that and, you know, a couple of racks of modular, you've got days of music there, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's appealing. It brings in, all of what we've said, Launchpad, MPC, the whole thing, the computer. It's interesting. And I've only briefly played one in a shop, but the MPCX quality of like time and pitch effects in terms of pitch, stretch, time shifting was really good quality. You seem to stand up quite a bit more than some other products, at least in my quick, you know, play around in headphones in the shop.
I agree. You know something else too that I'd like to mention? The MPCX and the MPC Live have great sound quality in general, but I think the Force is even better. Like, I mean, I feel like they've kind of improved on things and from their learnings and kind of did this, because as I've shared some of the recordings, I've actually had people kind of hound me like, what did you record that with, before I could say what I was using? Right? So the sound quality is pretty incredible, man.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention, because I know you jumped on it straight away, Corry, as did I, straight onto the follow-up email with Make Noise, the Q-Pass. That seemed, like you said, we spoke about it being so packed out at Perfect Circuit. I think everybody's been through a bit of a filter junkie stage. And I feel like people come out of the other end of it you know, and I feel like we went through a big kind of wave folder, wave shaper thing in Eurorack this past year or so. But you know, you get into modular and you've played synths before, and the filter cutoff's the thing that you're always jamming on whatever gear you've got, and everybody collects loads of filters. But it's exciting to see someone do something very different with a filter. I think that's the thing. It's such a kind of potent way to shape sound that people respond to. And I've had some really cool, like, formant vocal-like stuff out of it. You can really get the thing to talk. I haven't quite worked out what that smile pass mode is yet. I thought smile, I wondered if it was the, like, mids dipped out bass and treble boost thing, like a smile EQ, but it's not. It kind of sounds like when you mix a band pass back in with the original signal, like you're just moving resonant peaks around. More like playing with a parametric EQ than an actual kind of synth filter.
Yes. So the thing about that is that, you know, at the Perfect Circuit event, he went through the whole thing, and he, you know, they have what 30 minutes, they have their time limit. They're very organized about how they do with it. But he didn't get a chance to explain Smile Pass. So luckily, one of the questions, somebody said, "Hey, can you talk about Smile Pass more?" He demoed it, and I was kind of blown away. And the reason I was blown away is because, like I said, I'm an MPC dude. So one of the things, I have this technique that I do where you take a sample, a program, you take a program with maybe 16 chops on it, and I would make my sequence sequencing those chops. Then I put a low pass filter over it, kind of like old school hip hop, filtering out the bass out of records and stuff, so that that'll become your bass line. That's sort of that low, you know, that texture to old school hip hop. So I would do that. Then I would copy the track from that sequence and also duplicate the program. And then I would, you know, using the same sequence, and then go to that program, the second program, and use a high pass filter and then throw an LFO on it, right? So then you would have this low filtered thing, and all the stuff in the middle was gone. Then you have the high pass kind of wavy over the top of it. And I swear to you, when he demoed that Smile Pass, that's what I heard. Right? You know what I mean? And I you know, it was funny because I was there by myself. There's a lot of people there. I didn't come with anybody, but I was kind of so excited. I was kind of giggling over in the corner, like, "Oh, this is gonna be so fun." So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, like someone at ATK said in the chat that Tony said it retains the high and low energy, and then it's, you know, the resonant stuff surrounding the mids. Yeah, it's a stereo filter, but there's 2 poles per side. So it's more like a quad filter split in 2, I guess. I like that they've put the stereo VCA in the front of it. Yeah, because it can clip quite easily, which, like any kind of clipping, can be really nice, or sometimes you don't want it, but the level control's right there and CV just to back it off. It's really nice as like a soft resonator. I saw that they put a video up recently. They'll be in Walker demoing it on the Make Noise page, running drum loops in. And it did Greg's a big fan of this one, and you were the first person to tell me, actually, Greg, I think years back in software, the Korg MS-20 high pass bass boost trick, where you just put a ton of resonance on, turn the high pass up until you hit that low end, and then just leave it there. It's kind of a bass boost. It does that really well, but you can get it resonant enough that it rings a little bit. So it's almost like if you have a short, snappy bass drum, you can add the kind of boom tail to it. And then because you can radiate all the peaks around, you can kind of get a chord tone that just kind of gets excited and rings a little bit. And yeah, it's a really interesting, non-standard filter thing, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
Has anyone seen the story? And mainly just for people in the live chat as well. If you go on the website and just hit read more at the top, the story of how it came to be, I thought was nice. I almost emailed Tony and said, in a similar manner to how you'd want someone to read you a bedtime story, can you just record yourself reading out that text?
That would be dope.
So that I can upload it on the channel.
That's right.
It's a nice story. I mean, if I do, it might be something that I ask him to do at Super Booth. Will you come outside and read this?
Well, you've got a young daughter. You should do this. You'll send her to sleep.
Yeah. Bedtime stories, how modules came to be.
Yeah, that should be a whole video in itself. Him reading this, putting it through Morphogene, and then using QPass to affect it.
Sipping brandy by the fire, and it's a good read. It's not very long, but well, it's not just a paragraph, but it's not a huge read, but it's just a nice, talks about his origins working at Moog and the kind of enjoyment you get out calibrating filters there, and it's a nice thing. But yeah,
wasn't it loosely based on the Voyager filter, the QPass?
Yeah,
the idea anyway. Yeah,
it's funny that that is a stereo filter in there, even though.
It kind of says it's a massively underused thing in the Voyager because people just did the typical mini Moog thing with it. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm sure lots of people are going to have QPass stuff content-wise coming out, videos and stuff. It's out soon as well, which is always nice when something's announced and it's not far off. The thing that kind of really excited me when I saw it, and quite nicely they messaged to do some demo stuff with it for the release, Trident, the Rossum Trident. I like that he's renamed Ring Mod Zing. I think should do that with every other feature. Each new product needs to re-term something else. Did either of you get to check that out?
No.
Literally for about 30 seconds, and then I had real work to do.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah,
it's a shame.
So NAMM has a way of beating the crap out of you. Right, so
it really does.
It really does, man. I mean, I usually go for preview day on Wednesday, and then I have all my appointments. What I tried to do this year is have all of my appointments on Thursday and Friday, where I'm doing demos and videos and meetings or whatever. And then I figured, you just roam around and enjoy on Saturday. But here's what happened: I got there early enough to get in my parking space, to get there very close to it. Then I got there, I was tired as hell, so I took a nap in my car, and then I got up and I went inside the place, and I said, I'm gonna go and see this Rossum Trident. And then I walked around for a little while, got distracted a couple of times, and then some friends text me like, man, we are tired, we're sitting at the Hyatt. And then I went over and sat at the Hyatt, and that was it. And I never made it to see the Rossum filter because I was dog tired.
It does the thing that people and myself have been completely guilty of doing with FM and other kind of effects, any audio rate modulation, of syncing the modulator and the carrier so that it's always somewhat linked and related. Again, just to shout him out, because it's super useful me getting into modular. It was Matt Preston of Matt Tech Modular that showed me all this FM stuff early on when I just got into it and kind of didn't really get what was going on. And it was interesting, the analog FM, but it can be super dissonant and not really that nice to listen to sometimes until he synced everything. And then all the controls just seemed to have such more fluid range and nice musical results. You weren't kind of sweeping through mush to get to the next nice relative tone. So I like the fact that each oscillator just has a sync and a track on it. And the fact there's 3 of them, so you can chain it. It's almost like FM operators on a DX synth or a TX or something. Yeah, I think that's going to be really special. I like it might have been the Sonic State video where he said people have been asking him to remake his EMU oscillators for a long time, and he just wouldn't do it until he had an interesting idea, because he wouldn't just rehash a basic. He didn't want, an analog basic Rossum oscillator. I like that when designers just kind of say, there's more to this, but I'm just going to kind of sit it out and let's see what comes. I know Rob Hordike's the same, talking to Rob. He comes over to the Leeds events that we do, and he'll sit on an idea for a year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
I just have this impression of Rob off in the Netherlands, just kind of smoking coffee, building sims, just mulling over this idea for a long time. But then what comes out at the end, if they can be in that kind of work environment where they're not having to churn product out, I think is always something really special. And I like the name Zing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's one of those, again, that the demos were just kind of raw tones, which were interesting, but
it's like he had that big monitor, didn't he, above the setup, and it was just like, oh, here we go, just looking at a nice picture.
Yeah, he did the XY scope thing as well, didn't he? So you could go out and do visuals on it almost doing a drone set or something. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff with it though once it gets into people's hands. Obviously you just want to show off the tone of the thing you've made in a kind of trade show environment, but
right,
I'm sure there's some amazing patches to be had.
I think, Ben, you just echoed my exact sentiment when I was talking to, I think I was talking Ken about this. It looks like an amazing oscillator, and it looks like he's done some pretty amazing stuff with it that's unlike anything, but I'd love to hear it in a musical sense and kind of really get an idea of what it does, what it sounds like. And, you know, I think we heard the tone, right? You get that, and he demos some stuff, but I really want to hear it in a musical sense. And I can't wait to get my hands on it to really check it out for that reason too.
I think it's that me and Matthew and Greg have spoke about this a lot, how, and, you know, I'm not saying I've got the perfect formula making demos or any of us have, but, you know, you want to hear it like, here's a basic techno beat, here's a hip hop beat, here it is doing a drone thing, here it is playing a high up melody. You kind of need all these different reference points. And it might be that only one of those really speaks to you. It might be like, actually, I'm not into the high-end stuff, but as a bass machine or just as slow-moving drones, or there'll be different things that speak to different people, but you kind of need a bit of all of it. So I can see why they'd give the raw demo. You know, if they just gave you hard Berlin techno and that's not your thing, you're going to walk away going, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So you can see why in an environment where they can't give you a big range of stuff, again, it looked weird where they were. I thought they were in a hotel room, but it did sound really good. Linear FM, exponential FM, pulse width. The syncing should keep the analog FM in tune a bit better as well. That's my one gripe with analog FM. Just as I start jamming on the depth of it, pitch starts rising up. And then, you know, it's near enough useless musically. It's like the idiot bass player in the band or the guitarist or the drummer's got his drumstick and he's just pushing the pitch bend on the keyboard, which I've had. Well, I've done it in rehearsals. An idiot kind of trying to get to the pitch bend with a drumstick just to wind someone up. Or the bass player leans over to the guitarist and he's just slowly turning the tune.
That puts everybody off.
Yeah. But it's such a great sound, and I think the syncing and the tracking should help with that. But that one seems to have people excited. I mean, their other modules are such amazing quality that I think that's going to be really special.
Dave builds good stuff.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. At the other end of the spectrum, kind of price-wise, and it looking like, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, because I like that Bug Brand looks like it's from Fisher Price, which is a kid's like baby toy shop in the UK. It's the Teenage Engineering pocket operator.
Yeah. Continuing the trend of not NAMM, off-site NAMM. Yeah, they were in a hotel room about 3 blocks away, and we walked over there and got a demo of it. It was kind of cool to really see what they were up to, man. I think this is kind of brilliant that they're doing this. I was shocked to see this, but
yeah,
I like it.
My only thing with it currently is I don't get the pocket operator connection.
What I was saying, whose pocket is it going to fit in?
but I guess it does in the kind of cheap, accessible, kind of style. But it's interesting, and the pricing, I don't know. There's been a little bit of a debate online. It seems about it being priced a little bit high for what it is, but you know, analog synth, this red one, the 170 model, it's basically like a 101 or any of those like old single oscillator.
Yeah, and it's metal as well. That's the thing we were chatting about this. Like, I was almost expecting it to be some kind of higher grade plastic, you know, with those perforations and folding. But it's actually metal, so you know, the cost issue there.
And I like that the all the knobs are all Lego Technics.
Lego,
compatible. So you could go get some sort of weird Lego robot to come and cut off knobs.
You could control with it.
And then again, I think it was Alex Milomeldis when we were chatting. The 400's kind of like a bit of an ARP vibe in terms of functions, not necessarily sonically. The demo that was really good with this one was the Cuckoo got some footage with Basic. They'd gone to some studio somewhere, and Basic was just kind of rinsing audio rate and FM over everything. And there was some really nice tones coming out of it. I like this battery powered. I like that there's a speaker. I'm kind of into that nasty cheap speaker sound. I like miking that up. I like having the DI of stuff and then just having this.
I love cheap speakers on keyboards.
And then I think that there'll be a bit of an unsung hero maybe, but I think this kind of, it's almost like a mini TKB, this little touch keyboard, you know, £139. I mean, it's all out of stock, but I think that's going to do really well long term as well.
Yeah.
For people, you know, plenty of outs, some sort of interfacing, not much money, completely standalone.
How many outs has that got, Ben?
I don't know if it's an out per pad, like a gate out, or...
That would be like the TKB, which I have over here. So, I hope it's like that.
Or if it's... It might be... I was chatting to Nedivine, if I've said his name right, who now works with Teenage Engineering. And I think all the sequencers have free outputs so that they can feed, you know, the free oscillators on the third one. And then I guess there's inputs for direction and clocking and reset and all that kind of thing. Did you see, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look far enough into it, but I'll just scroll through the manual quickly. They're making patch cups that look like coffee cups of cables.
All right.
I weirdly got as excited for that.
Oh, wow.
I'm excited now that you said it.
As I did, I was looking through the manual and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, looking at how you bend the metal. And we should say as well, it's Euro rack compatible. And I think all the voltages are as well and the interfaces, but it's 2U high, not 3U. So you will have to remake panels yourself for the DIY community. But yeah, scrolling through the manual, I always like the patch examples as well. I like the old Moog patch cookbook. Here's how you make a violin. And it's like, no. But I love the idea. Yeah, the cable hanger and the cable bucket. There you go, look. Add-ons.
Oh, nice.
The big gulp cable.
Nice.
Just like,
nice too, don't they? I like that idea though, that color coded.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. I think it's sold out instantly. I'm sure it's going to be successful. And there's talk of more modules to come. And I think, again, it was probably the Sonic State video. They'd said no more than $100 or pounds or euros, whichever the currency was, as cheap as $29.
Yeah.
Good job as well.
They're breaking barriers with that. I think this is going to be the gateway drug for a lot of folks. And it may not even be, for some people, it's just going to be like, hey, this is how I do modular with just this. And I can get my fix from that. That's going to be what some people are going to get into with it, man.
Well, they keep talking about the current range as if there's more coming. And, you know, you'll be able to buy these boxes of different stuff. So I hope they make... Be nice to see them make a case like the size of the yellow one that doesn't have anything in it. You know, follow that flat pack. They joke about IKEA and flat packing their products, but like a flat pack case that still runs battery powered, where you can then get as many oscillators as you want, or whatever else.
You just do it yourself.
Yeah, and they've such interesting technology, like in the OP1 and the OPZ or Z. I think. You know, imagine some of those sequences from the OP1 in Euro, or the cow compressor.
Like
people would go mad.
If you had like tombola and like the cow and stuff, that'd be amazing.
People would go mad just for a little cow graphic on their modular. They should just license that graphic onto the Mordax data and just have it run on that screen. I'm sure people would go for it. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think they're shipping in like 4 weeks from when they came out, 3 weeks. So hopefully there'll be plenty of stuff to check out with it. I don't know what Teenage Engineering are like for working with people. I don't know if we'll see a lot of user videos or like demo videos from different people, or whether they'll, you know, users will just go crazy for uploading stuff. But I like the idea. I'm hoping, because I did order it, I'll have one for the Huddersfield event at the end of February. It'd be quite nice to check out.
Yeah. And you know that the compatibility with, what was it, OpLab, like the Op One, use the OpLab so you can connect the right. So now the what is it, OpZ?
Yeah,
you could throw the new version of the OpLab inside of it so that you can kind of use that as the control piece for the larger thing. I love this sort of ecosystem that they're developing.
Yeah, I've seen the UpZ of Z with the like CV backpack on it.
Yeah,
already they had that in one of the videos, which is nice. A completely different thing you brought up, Matthew, which is wild in comparison to anything else. Is it the Panopticon?
Panopticon, yeah.
Let's have a look. If it will come up. So it's like a vinyl version of a Mellotron.
Exactly. I just saw it. I was just trolling through all the NAMM videos and just seeing, most of the same kind of candidates. Then came across this and just thought, what the hell is this thing? And just saw the video and just thought, I was personally attracted or drawn to it just because I thought there's lots of kind of glitch possibilities with this, because you can really touch this thing and put your hands on it and warp it and do all kinds of things with it, but it is expensive, which is the drawback.
Yeah, I like the idea of just a different.
How much?
Media.
I think it's about $4,000.
It's comparable to a remake of a Mellotron, isn't it?
Yeah. Like in the thing there, it's talks about like Kraftwerk. They had, I think it was called an Orchestron, and that had like a record that you put in, and on like Trans Europe Express album that was used. Europe Endless, that kind of string in the background was one of something like this. But yeah, it looks like you can throw it into reverse really quickly and do all sorts of things with it.
And there's MIDI syncing in and out.
Yeah, there's a few different options of it. But actually, like when you get the discs, they've got their own like cover. They do look like vinyl, like you bought an album. It might be flutes or sitar or. Yeah,
it's like almost like sample packs being released on a vinyl format.
Yeah,
and they've got sleeve art and sleeve notes and
yeah.
It's interesting. I'm not sure about and I don't know if any of the videos get into it. It's imparting any tone in the same way that tape does, in terms of the medium itself.
Yeah, it's like I wonder if you could get one and like scratch it or stick things onto it like jam or whatever.
Prepared Panopticon, like prepared piano. Yeah, I like the idea of it. It's a strange, and he's pressing all this stuff himself. The guy said in one of the videos. I like the idea of them sending you. I don't know if it makes any sense as a business model, but if you can get these effectively vinyls cut with material on, because there's that. Is it the Orns Magnetique that someone's done? That's like a Mellotron on a cassette player, and they're retrofitting CV speed control of all cassette Walkmans. And you can volt per octave CV the pitch of the cassette motor. And being cassette, you'd be completely free just to put whatever you want on that thing. Just put the cassette in the player and you're off, which I think is an interesting thing. It'd be nice to put, the same long pitch of a wavetable, or
if you got a 3D printer, you could 3D print your own ones and stick them in there. Someone's going 3D printed some vinyl.
Just like the 3D printing. I just love this idea of how long it took. Like, just to make an Instagram video took 4 days because the 3D printer had to run for 70 hours before, before the thing was done. I like the fact that there's someone out there making that. It's hard, isn't it, in this world to make instruments, and someone's doing that. Yeah, likewise. It's not for me, but I do like that it's there. It's really nice to see people, and you just hope that they need 5 people to buy it to keep going, and 5 people just went, yeah, we'll have one.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that kind of kept people can keep doing this kind of thing. it wasn't really a NAMM thing, but they've just shown it, and I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was interesting. Diviner, we're not entirely sure, from Soma Labs. Seems like a really odd one, going from the lyra to an electroacoustic instrument. I play the video. If I'll try a little bit of sound, I'll skip it and we'll see if it's fine. People in the chat let me know if the sound's on or off. Really bad. But effectively, 2 pieces of wood. I don't know if it comes with a violin bow or not, but 2 strings.
It sounds off then, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on now. I'll shut up. But I at first, and I was with a couple of friends earlier, and it seems a little bit of an odd one for their product line, but it kind of makes sense. I guess, you know, the lyra being the drone and this being the melody line, it's almost like a harmonium and a sitar, or again, and it's, I don't know if they're making it or not. I think some have emailed everyone saying, effectively, let us know if you're interested. Depending on interest, it will be between, you know, 200 something euros and 500 or whatever the pricing was. Again, I hope people go for it and keep experimenting with sound and trying things. I think it's interesting. And I don't think you'd need, I mean, any instrument is going to be better if you put some time in to learn the thing, but I think you get something interesting out of it from the off, whether that was just some drones to sample or random bits of stuff to cut up. It's interesting. I was listening to Right Side of Mystery from Nathan Moody. There's a lot of kind of handmade instruments on that, putting bass strings on pipes and building his own dulcimers and things like that, and then trying to approach that as if it's electronic music and synthesis. So it's an interesting thing. What's anyone else's kind of gut reaction on it?
Nothing.
I guess I don't think everyone is going to jump at it, but I think it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I personally like experimentation. I mean, when people go out and they try unconventional things and experiment, it creates a lot of new stuff that you probably wouldn't have thought of. So I love that kind of stuff.
Someone in the chat said it looks like a crossbow. It kind of does. It's got its own preamp and delay built in, I think was part of the sound as well. And
that's interesting.
I don't know, it's interesting. It's certainly a bit of a departure for the company. But again, I really do hope enough people say they're interested, and it just keeps funding these kind of ideas that people have. You know, it's nice that it's not just a clone of some other module that there's already 50 of or whatever. It's nice that it's something different. On another kind of electroacoustic tip, almost as if I planned it, which I definitely didn't. Is it the Lavar de Luthier, the resonator speakers? I was dying in one of the demos I saw of this for them to, and you know, I get what it's like making video demos. We do Super Booth, we don't do NAMM, but you're not in a position to go and mic up this thing and get a good demo in a trade show. You know, you're not going to mic an instrument. Even getting direct audio in, you still don't get the best demos at trade shows, of course. But I think these are a really interesting concept. They've got amplifiers in them that you just feed your sound into, and then a transducer excites the wooden object as opposed to a speaker vibrating the air. So vibrate the wood and get a resonating speaker effectively. Did you get a chance to check it out, Tom or Corey? I don't even know where this will have been in terms of the room.
It was with the Hucken Continuum on the Alex Store stand, and I didn't get a chance to check it out, unfortunately.
It seems interesting.
I didn't get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's one I kind of just wanted to bring up, that they had the Kickstarter for the kind of piano-shaped one, the smaller one, which runs a kind of lower end. I think it's a Class D amplifier rather than the Class A amp. And there was nothing that made me jump at the Kickstarter. I really kind of wanted to back it, but then, I don't know, the demos just didn't do it. I almost just wanted someone to give me the direct audio and say, here's the sound of a keyboard loop or whatever. And then here's this thing with just like an SM58 thrown in front of it. Just a familiar cheap microphone, super basic. They don't need to stereo mic it with U87s or whatever high-end audio stuff. But it must have a sound. And I think it was Andy from Sonic State that's usually a bit more behind the scenes. He did the demo and he said it really does sound stunning in person. So I'm kind of, it's one of those, I'm dying to like it, but I've not been given anything just yet.
What's the pricing on those, Ben?
The Kickstarter was really good, if I remember right, for the cheaper one. Let me just take a quick look. It wasn't ridiculous. It was nearly enough to just kind of take a punt, I think. And it's a bit more than I thought. The early bird on Kickstarter was €570. So it's not cheap, but
what it is, it's
again, it's like that Panopticon. It's like, am I going to get one? No, but I am so glad they exist.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 soundboards, stereo, and I just like the idea of having this thing in the studio and just having some stereo mics permanently on it, and it just being on a send on the desk.
Yeah.
Just being, it's like running it off into an effects unit in the corner. I really like the Great British Spring, which looks like a piece of PVC drain pipe that you'd have on the outside of a house with a spring inside it. The old British Spring reverb thing. I'd love that. I'd love to have like indoor guttering along the top of the room that is several Great British Springs. I just like the idea of this kind of more oddball stuff. The Pyramid is over €1,000.
Yeah.
And once you're getting up to wanting all like the Class A amplification and all that kind of thing for it, I think it really starts to add up. Where it looked really good for Kickstarter, just to show the image and put it in context, is almost like that as a mini instrument. I thought if you take sampler, keyboard, a continuum, I'd like to freak sound guys out with it as well. I'd love for them to just go, no, just point the speaker at that piece of wood. Just your piece of wood's feeding back at a gig. I just like, I don't know. There's something about that one. What about Micro Freak? That's kind of a big product that we've not brought up yet.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah, really, really impressive synthesizer. Looks a little bit kind of thrown together. I'm sure Arturia won't mind me saying that. It does look a bit crazy, but it's
I'm
just
glad you said
beautiful.
That. It seems like nobody is saying that, and it's the truth.
Yeah. It looks crazy, but I kind of like it. The oscillator sounds fantastic. The send filter sounds fantastic. The modulation matrix is really intelligent. Yeah, the keyboard as well, coming from a Buchla kind of background, that keyboard just speaks volumes to me. It really, really does. And it's cheap. It's really cheap.
It's really cheap.
Sounds great. I mean, the kind of whole mutable issue aside, that Emily's kind of resolved. But yeah, what a great synth. What a great synth. Very
my impression of that, I mean, we don't all need to make some sort of official statement on the thing. It's just personal. It's just that, someone at Arturia, a marketing guy or whoever updates the website just got the text wrong, is the impression that I get. To say it was a collaboration when it wasn't. And, if you're not involved with the product and you're their web and marketing guy or whatever, I don't know people at Arturia to put an official thing on that. It's just a bit of a misinformation thing, and within a couple of days it seemed cleared up. Emily put out this is what happened, this is my side. Arturia kind of said, yeah, we've updated the website. It kind of seems like job done to me anyway. But yeah, it really does appeal.
Sounds good though. That's what it comes down to, right?
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it really sounds great.
Good.
I was just about to pull the trigger on buying a Platts as well. And I was just then I seen this.
There you go. And then you get a touch plate keyboard with it. That's Eurorack compatible. So hey,
cheaper than Platts, is it?
Yep.
Or it's not far off anyway.
Yeah, it might be.
Have the whole synth. I mean, it's not every mode from Platts, but it is paraphonic, isn't it? So it's it's a 4-voice version.
I think it's four. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I like that it's cheap without a conventional keyboard. I think that really does just giving people different interfaces. It makes different music come out, and I think it's really interesting. I like that the cycling envelope is a bit of a kind of modular nod, with it being more function generator based, rise and fall time. It can loop or not. It can be an envelope or an LFO. Goes up into audio rate, very kind of surge, or more like a Buchla kind of approach to that. Yeah, it's nice.
That's really nice.
The kind of little graphic thing between the knobs and the control interface, I couldn't quite get my head around. I didn't see enough of it.
Is that their way of sort of, you know, hey, mutable inside type of thing?
Yeah, it doesn't. To be brutally honest, it just doesn't have the elegance of Hannes from Paper Noise's design. But that's what I thought. Maybe it's a bit of a nod to that. Maybe it's a style they're going with. I love the idea of them having like a digital alternative line. The Mini Brute's fantastic. To the Mini Brute 2S here that there'll be videos coming with this month, which obviously massively late to the party with, but it sounds really, really good. And I imagine this will be similar as well. You were saying, Matthew, just on the Micro Freak still, I was just saying that it's really nice to see a non-standard interface for the playing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and what you've just said there, I'm really glad that they've gone down the digital route. You know, they've nailed the analog part of their sort of product range, if you like. And I just think I'm glad that they've gone off in this kind of direction. When you guys were playing with it, you know, the keyboard itself, it doesn't have like little ridges between the keys, like how.
No, it's fretless. It's kind of fretless. That's the best way to explain it. Yeah.
To be, because haven't they changed that on the new Buchla easel as well?
Yeah, the new easel doesn't have the fret lines in between the keys anymore.
I mean, some people are going to like them, obviously, some are not. But I just think if you're having a touch plate, you've got to be able to do that with it, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think what would be nice, but I can see it's a bit too far of a step. We were talking with Matthew that it would be nice if it was more like pressure points or TKB, and it didn't even have the kind of Western keyboard associated with it.
Oh, definitely. That'd be my ask, but I understand exactly why they've done it.
Yeah, of course. It wouldn't be as kind of mass market, but I love the idea that like with a pressure points or a TKB, pitch doesn't necessarily go up as you go to the right. Yeah. It's maybe a bit too far out there. And of course you can throw that as a controller at this sort of thing. But yeah, the idea of buying a module or buying a full synth, yeah, it looks really good. I don't know what will follow. Is there going to be a polyfreak, or because it pulls in the kind of matrix route, kind of matrix modulation matrix. Obviously, digital oscillator is a new thing, new filter.
The SAM filter, is it?
I think freak is going to be a range. It's going to be a lineup.
Yeah,
something freak. So you've got something brute.
I wonder if there'll be a drum freak, you know, if they'll go down the kind of sample playback.
Oh yeah,
will be interesting.
I think what's going to inform them is that as people get their hands on the Micro Freak and start using it in more videos and more, you start to see how people use it more. I think that's going to kind of inspire what their next moves are, even if they have a couple things planned already.
I think it'll be easier for them to do a poly with digital oscillators.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Is almost certainly on the way.
Yeah, well, they've made this paraphonic right off the bat, haven't they? So it's got to be able to do it. But yeah, I mean, for me, NAMM-wise, unless I've kind of missed anything, that's kind of wraps up NAMM effectively. Is there anything we've missed?
Mini Log XD.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning.
Yeah.
It seems like the NAMM year of adding digital oscillators or having digital oscillators. I'm a guy that owned the original Mini Log. It's pretty good. And then the XD, played it at NAMM. Unbelievable sounding machine. Really, really liked it. the digital oscillator that they've put in there is the one from the Prologue. So you've got like the ability to get the what is it called, the SDK, the software development kit for it, so you can program your own oscillators and whatnot.
That's how Platt's ended up in the Prologue, isn't it? It was the users saying, this is the same processor, we can port this code. And then Korg have kind of then said, yeah, you can. There it is.
Yeah, completely.
Someone told me earlier.
Yeah. They've added some stereo effects. I think they've revoiced the filter slightly because it does sound markedly different. And it's also got 2 CV inputs, which I absolutely adore. I love the ability to bring in 2 kind of weird functions from your modular and then just assign them anywhere in that machine. I think that's pretty cool. Really, really cool. Sounded great. They had it next to a Prologue, and it shouldn't sound better than a Prologue because it's the same guts. But it did. It sounded so much better than the Prologue. Not sure why, but yeah, great CV inputs. Really,
I think
really
this
cool.
is one of those things, though. This is one of those things where you kind of figure they took this device and they took the best of 3 sort of things that they've made. You know what I mean? The mini, the mono, the Prologue, and they've kind of improved on those things and put it all into this one piece. And that I think that's why, to me, it sounded better, and it kind of sounded like the best of the best sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah.
And that joystick, adding the joystick instead of that really frustrating weird bar thing that the mini log had that I just hated. It's great. It feels great sounding. So very, very impressed with it.
Yeah, it's like they tested the water with the other ones as a product. Like, this is the actual thinking from that feedback, as it were.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, I seen an odd comment that I thought I'd bring up, which it generally does seem really odd. Trying to see between the sales chat or something someone said, which I know is a kind of weird thing for me to address because you kind of ignore that kind of rubbish. There's no sales chat. We're just talking about synths. We all play with this stuff, and none of us have any personal gain to be had of you buying anything we spoke about. It just seems like a really odd, just kind of dipping into the live chat. There's a lot of good stuff going on as usual, and then there's these odd little moments of kind of flying past. That's why I've just been reading. I was like, hey, what's this kind of crap in the live chat? So it's not something I'd usually just let it pass, but you know, when you're just thinking, we're coming to the end of the show anyway, and naturally it's kind of, we've gone through quite a lot of products, and you're like, no, that's not what we do. On the opposite note to that, there is a lot of good people in the chat. It's like the who's who of music tech. Corry went in and commented. There's a lot of other people that are making great music and videos and working with products and stuff like that. And the community seems to keep going strength to strength in terms of the amount of good people. I mean, that's the thing for Superbooth. I imagine for Tom and Corry that went to NAMM, that's half of it, right? Just going and seeing the people.
Yeah, definitely. That's always a huge part of it. Being able to see people that you kind of interact with throughout the year, that I watch you guys' videos, and we may communicate on whatever social media and follow each other. Then to kind of get a chance to see each other at an event like that, where there's lots of new products and we can kind of share our thoughts and just get a chance to give each other a pound, shake hands, and whatever it is. So that's part of the appeal.
That's the same at Superbooth. I did, and I really enjoy making all the Superbooth content. We all do, and it's a big thing for us, going and just getting a ton of really good videos out there. And I think that the angle, this isn't a sales pitch to try and get sponsors or something, although I would like more money, like we all would. When me, Matthew and Greg go to Superbooth, we just work. It's non-stop, just in the same way that the people on the booths, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to go out. It did cross my mind this year with all the NAMM, so I was like, we could go and hang out, but then we wouldn't be able to go do our thing, wouldn't be able to do the videos. And I like it when, same for you, Corry, when people that use and know the products go and speak to the people that make stuff. I think it's a much more interesting conversation to watch. I want to see an Akai Force video where you talk to the guys. Having just made an album and been a beta tester, that's much more interesting than Magazine X from whatever country that is maybe just after a short news scoop.
ticking the box. It's new. Let's go and cover it. You want an avid user of their products to go. It's good.
That's a good point you make, and that's one of the things that I learned early of going to NAMM and doing these videos and doing Bboy Tech Report and all that. It's not for us to go there and try to compete with the guy that, like somebody like Nick, that's gonna have teams of guys running around, like, you know. And I love the camaraderie in general, but the thing that I learned early is that I'm not going to try to break my back getting 1 million videos up, because I don't have that capacity to be able to do that. But what I do have is the capacity to have a discussion with the makers and the product owners and all of that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff I think that, you know, all of our different audiences really love about this whole thing.
Yeah, and that's why we all watch different stuff. And it's good that, in the same way for us at Super Booth, like yourself at NAMM, that those videos are made. And, you know, we all watch a ton of Nick's content as well.
Of course. It's great content, as a matter of fact. It's incredible content. And we all kind of are, he's the archetype of all the stuff that we do, right? So, but everybody finding their own lane is what I think makes this whole community beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick's the only one we've mentioned by name. That we've all got kind of deep-rooted respect and love for Nick. There are more and more channels propping up, though, and I won't name names, that just are ticking boxes all the time. It just seems like, right, we've got that now. Right, we've got that now. Right, we've got that now. And it's kind of like, you know, just the stream of stuff this year from NAMM I found quite overwhelming. Every year, Super Booth's really overwhelming as well. But the amount of videos that are just super boring, because you know, Nick and the team are passionate about what they do, but like you said, they're the kind of biggest ones that have this team. They get a ton of content, and then there's great content from the users and channels like yours, Corry, that go out and get this stuff. And like Tom that's on, you know, we've been talking about the red panel Buchla stuff. You repair Buchla stuff, that's part of your job. You've got so much more of an invested interest in say in any of this stuff. That's the kind of angle that I want on all this content. But there's a lot of, I'm not wanting to be negative, but there's kind of a lot of just box ticking. We'll take a camera and a mic and put someone in a hotel for a week and tell them to go get 100 videos. It's like, it's made it difficult.
It has. It definitely has. And then too, you what you start to find is that, like you said, all of these videos, you know, people that are doing these presentations for the companies that make the equipment, you know, they have to have their whole sort of script together. And I've always wanted to be one to veer off of that script. Like, okay, that's good. That's your presentation. Now, about this, you know what I mean? Now, what was the background and what kind of, I like that sort of thing. And I guess it's good to have a good balance. So, yeah,
it's nice to see it. And obviously people in the live chat, as they do, I don't really know why I'm saying most of this, but just continue to support the channels that do good stuff. It makes it nice and easy. But yeah, I think you're right, Tom, about the mini log. It's one of those synths that I don't own, but I held a chord down on one for the first time, possibly in a shop in Dublin, Greg. I can't remember the name of it.
I really liked it as well.
And it was like, there's something about this. And you know, they've got, it seems to the mini log, just going back to it, that they'd got all the voicing of the filter right for a polyphonic synth. You don't want like uber fat saturated filter when you're gonna play chords into it. Generally, it seems like they'd really listened. Thinking of Cog, two things we should mention: the new Volkers.
Oh yeah.
I really like that.
You know me, Ben. I like a Volker.
I really like that they called the random generator Woggle. And then I just saw it the other day, and it's a nice way to respond, I guess. Make Noise put up a video called "What is the Woggle?" or "What is Woggle?" You know, just for them to own it a little bit with the Woggle Bug and Grant Richter's design. The Woggle Bug is a Grant Richter thing. People can look up Grant if they want. But I like that little Vulcan modular. Again, a bit like the interface being different on the Micro Freak. I think if it gets people into patching outside of a normal, I know it is semi-modular. I think you don't have to plug anything in.
I really
like modular.
I think they're just calling it space, aren't they? But the reverb on that, every little demo I've heard, really liked the reverb.
Again, batteries, little speakers, you know, it's a bit daft, but plugged in it sounds great.
I actually played with one on Friday.
We're losing you, Tom. We got to you'd actually played one on Friday. Let's try again.
Oh, sorry, man.
Oh no.
Let's try that again. Yes, I actually played one on Friday. Yeah, it sounds great.
No, you're there now. That's good.
Oh, cool. I'm here. Yeah, played one. Sounds great. Yeah, the reverb's really nice. I'm a little bit biased because I love Volkers, but yeah, it sounds great. Sounds really good.
I think it fits into their scheme.
Little banana cables, they drive me mad. It's a great sounding little machine. I hope it gets more people into modular.
Yeah.
Really do.
I think I just caught a bit then, Tommy, you're cutting up a bit. But yeah, those jumper cables, they're not, you know, I'm not into building modules or even DIY particularly, but you see components listed for like 1,000 turns on a pot or a million turns on, or 1,000,000 presses on a button is its life cycle that's rated when you buy the component. And those headers and jumper pins just aren't really made for patching. That's not their intention. I hope they don't break, but that's the one thing I've seen a lot of people that do build stuff say, yeah, give it a while and they will break. Which again, but then again, you know, if you get a couple of years out of something that was $150,
right?
it's relative. It's not on your £1,000 synth, is it? So it's like, each their own, and they just couldn't have fit jacks on. The one thing we don't see that is smaller but is super sturdy, I wonder why we haven't seen a Bantam connector on anything yet. You know, Bantam patch bays that are like
yeah.
They're really sturdy. You know, you get like a 96-point Bantam patch bay in a rack unit, and you think they're rock solid, and they're in studios being hammered all the time and still work after 40 years. I don't know why we haven't seen a Bantam connector. I don't know if there's some odd electrical thing with them or what, but that seems like if it's going to be smaller than a mini jack.
Well, there's ones that Rob Hydak were going on about as well. There's like those mini bananas.
Oh yeah, you can get those mini banana cables. Yeah,
that are they're even smaller than the sort of 3.5s, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's small.
Yeah, like electrical test cables that are smaller than banana cables. Yeah.
Banana cables.
I like the idea of all these little systems that you can play with on the sofa. I mean, I'd get one of those for playing with on the sofa, but you don't want to lose your cables down the side of the sofa either.
Yeah, it's all that. The battery power thing, yeah. It's like you're maybe not going to sit with the pocket operator next to the, you know, your loved one with a drink on an evening, and you've got the yellow pocket operator sat on your knee. With a speaker blaring just like crunchy mid-range at her. But yeah, cool. Well, I think that's it for now. We'll give it a couple of minutes for anyone in the live chat if there's anything anyone wants to bring up. But I think that's it. I've missed a lot of the live chat. I don't know if anyone else has kept up to it. A little bit off game. We're usually really on the live chat and talking and doing the show. It's been a while since we've done one, so I've missed most of the conversation. Someone says, Big Mac in the live chat says wired. The wired system uses Bantams. But that's bigger. The wired system's 6U high. I mean, great that it uses them, but I'm thinking in these small systems, would that not be a viable technology to use? I don't know. I thought the wired system were mini jacks, which I always thought was kind of strange for 6U. Anyway, I'm not sure. Pods keep coming up. I don't know if someone's on about like Apple ear pods or...
Oh, the 4MS pods?
Is that what people are bringing up? Yeah. They look nice. Little powered cases, I'm all for. that's one more piece of gear just to bring up. Did you see the power board that Suit and Tie Guide made for the Mother 32 cases?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that's brilliant, because I'm just sitting here like you get something like the Mother 32, you get something like the Neutron, right? And you pull that out, you put those into your rack, and the cases are just kind of, you know, I put it in the garage, right? But it's nice to be able to get some power to throw in there that you could put other modules in there. It's nice. I
like that oscillator that he's made as well. Yeah, he's always an interesting character, Suit and Tie Guy, but he's talking about how that oscillator is the most complex designed analog oscillator, because there's a whole digital control. It's not a DCO. He was quite quick to point out it wasn't a DCO. It still is a VCO. It's still voltage control, but there's a whole digital control system. But the thing you put in there that was nice is there's a drift built in.
All right.
There's a smooth fluctuating random generator in it, and a depth knob and a rate knob. And then that plays with the drift of the oscillator. Strangely, I think it went an octave either way at full range. And I'm like, what kind of drunken, weird pitch thing is you want to bounce around? Like slowly drifting up and down in an octave or two. But if it's an LFO, I thought that would be really cool. If it's got if it can double or halve in speed at random smooth changes, would be really cool. But yeah, the boat rocker slide down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny at the end of the. I think again, it's the Sonic State video. He puts the case down and just says, "I've got to figure out where to get these cases from now."
Nice.
So I hope that, because he doesn't want to just sell the power board. But the nice thing that he'd done is it still uses the 1/4-inch jack output and the power inlet that's on the Mother 32 and the DFAM cases. So you can still just plug, you know, all the power supply fittings are still there. You can still use the jack output. And yeah, I think, like you said, Corey, you take it out, you put those things in a case, and you're left with these little metal passive boxes that don't do anything.
Right.
It's interesting. He had the full system as well, which was nice to see him with some new Euro modules. The VCO was new. The rest of it, I think's already been out for a while. The envelope generator's fairly new. There's the Wave Slicer, which is going to be a 5U module that he said he didn't want to speak about yet. The .SCL, it's the one in the kind of more faded panel with the 3 jacks at the top. I think it's a bit like, we're seeing switches that work at audio rate a lot more now. It's a bit like the Dove Audio WTF module, where you can switch between 2 waveforms, kind of slice 2 together at musical intervals and create these new kind of the WTF's window transform function, but I think they all work slightly differently. I know Bang from Live Stock Electronics treats the positive and negative part of the wavetable differently, and you can modulate and flip in like how many bits of information are in the top and bottom and the wave type for the top and bottom. So I'm all for that kind of new ways of slicing waves, but Suit did say in the video, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Just which you kind of think, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have put it in the case. I hope people give him stick for not demoing the thing that he brought within. But it looks cool. I like the idea of his little voice. And I hope we can hook up with Moog for those cases as well. It'd be nice if they end up working together on it. But yeah, cool.
He has the connects to make that happen.
Yeah, he do. Yeah, he's well connected enough for that. I don't know how much the power would be. There is, I don't know if it's still active. There is that Kickstarter going. Is it Mother's Little Helper? That kind of little add-on case for the side of a.
Yeah, with all the patch points, the added patch points. Yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah, side. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a health companion. Yeah, it's not come straight up. It mustn't be called that. But it was, yeah, it was like a passive logic, crossfading, mixing, OR gate combining kind of expansion, like another load of patch points to bung on the end of the Mother 32, which I thought was a neat idea. And I think they reached their goal of adding power in. And I think it's 26 HP. So then it became really interesting because you could have a maths kind of tagged on as like a sidecar to the edge of Mother 32, or like a DLD or one of the samplers or Verb, or just a nice kind of additional module to expand a Mother 32. I thought it was cool. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up. There's nothing in the chat that people have said we've missed. Raskin asked a word on the Achuria Freak Synth. Yeah, a little bit further back. If anyone watching wants to time code this, there's been a couple of people that have on previous shows, and it's super helpful, where they've just commented and said, this comes up at 10 minutes 13, this comes up at 40 minutes. Feel free to do so. But we did talk about it not too long back. Family Tool, that's it. ATK Family Tool. Just going to quickly show that because I thought it was a really neat idea. Someone did comment when I saw it. They said, "What will Moog think about that?" I said, "Well, they've made a little helper for a Moog unit. I can't see any issue personally." Must have gone now. It's done, but that's it.
All right.
So I thought it was a neat idea. It's obviously a really restricted market. It's kind of, I mean, it will work with Euro rack, but it's kind of specific. But now there's power in every case. Thinking of those 4MS pods, I do like the idea of these little things dotted around. You know, if there's power in that and you've got a load of interfaces for dealing with line level in and out, or that's a little effects box that you almost use like a pedal. It's just got your favorite Euro rack delay in, or I like the idea of being able to dot things around. I think I'd put a load of interfacing in it personally. I've got a Dope for Beauty case that's kind of like that. Pedal interface modules and in and outputs for mics or XLR in and outs if I'm wanting that kind of thing. Cool. All right. Well, thanks to everyone in the live chat for joining us. Obviously, thanks to Tom and Corry for joining us as well. Is there anything anyone wants to end on? Anything people want to kind of tell people to check out? I want to plug that release of yours again, Matthew.
Thank you.
I'm going to try, and either way, I'm sure we'll make some good press around it. I'm going to try and get Div Baby to sleep. It's just super bliss that she seems to really respond to. You can see the eyes go. You know, if someone's staring into the distance and there's such focus, they're trying to pick something out. You know, is that an old friend across a shopping mall? Or she has that look in her eye when there's this kind of thing on.
All right.
It's almost like she's trying to see through the beds of sound as to what's coming. And obviously, this kind of music doesn't give you it. There's no drums or melody going to come through that.
There's no nightmares. I'll be all right with
that. Well, I'll tell you if she cries or not. But yeah, totemic topologies, music made with things that have blown into your garden.
I love that.
Yeah. It's just such an odd. When he told me, I was like, "What blows into the garden?"
Got a box which of different things that have come into the garden, like from different kind of branches, bird's nest, bottles, cans.
But there's what I did think straight away, because they were all at that edge of the field when I last saw you. There's a field of sheep behind your house. I was like, I wonder if the sheep made it in. Were you chasing it around the garden?
No, that's a whole different video.
Yeah. I stopped myself going any further with that one.
That's X-rated.
Yeah. Cool. What about you, Corry? What's coming up? When's the Akai Force album coming out?
Oh yeah, so the Rum Punch album should be out. I'm thinking March. I just got some stuff to tighten up around it, and it's a fun album, man. So like I said, it's Rum Punch experiments and arpeggiation, and it's all done in a mod bap sort of style of music. So
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, man. So yeah, that'll be coming up, but you can check for it on beatppl.com, and we'll have more Beatppl podcasts coming up, and Beatppl being BEATPPL, not the whole word people spelled out, right? So
We don't beat people, we are beat people.
That's right.
Although Rum Punch is like getting a little bit like maybe you do, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, you know, you never know. But thanks for having me on, man. It's always a good conversation. And, you know, I love the community that we're a part of, man. So many positive vibes.
Yeah, it's good, really good. What about you, Greg? You've had some Instagram stuff up recently, bits of patches. I imagine we'll see a chord.
Yeah.
As we go in.
That pre-order goes up for the new version of chord. I'm going to get that in. Looking forward to funnier surges.
Yes.
Almost there with them.
Yeah, we're having, I don't know if people saw this, the 73, 75 surge systems kind of long been built by a friend for us. I think the first panel's ready, so we'll all be kind of tinkering with, a bit like the 100 series for Buchla. It's kind of the early surge designs from 1973 to 1975. Some of them a little bit more primitive than they are. Random Source of kind of, and with Surge himself as an official kind of business partner now, he's part of Random Source, which is amazing. They've really kind of pushed technology forward, and Surge, even before he was with Random Source more recently, has kind of been signing off the kind of improvements and circuit upgrades that they've made, saying that had that technology been available, I would have used that component and all this kind of thing. But there's a romantic thing, I think, about using the original. And like, I don't think we're going to get the oscillators to track volt per octave. I kind of like that. I'm going to have to work around it.
This is definitely the Buchla 100 equivalent in Surge. It's like, you know, this is day one of Surge. You know.
Yeah.
This is the paper face stuff.
Yeah, I really like the idea of just fighting with this thing. I'm kind of hoping that it's really awkward and I don't like it. I want to like the tone, but I don't want it to give me something straight away. I want to have to fight and learn.
You want to fall out.
Yeah. You want the fight and the makeup sex, I think. You want to have to, you want to, because you don't, I don't know. Any of these instruments, like even like the Akai for Corry, I want to have to learn it and really get into that mindset.
Yeah,
and really try and rinse it that way. If it gives too much too soon, which it won't, because they're all primitive circuits, I think it just become a bit. It will be an extension of everything else, and I don't want it to be. I want it to be really different,
completely different, 90 degrees. So.
Yeah, and I think the effects and stuff that I choose to use with it will probably be quite different. I'll probably couple maybe a specific delay and spring or something with it to try and kind of, that's the instrument and that's it, end of. I think it'd be quite an interesting way to work.
You said that these ones.
Matthew, I was just going to say, where's he gone? He's not even at the bottom. But yeah, cool. Matthew's gone. We're at that point of descending into unrelated chat anyway, which is great, but not really what we were doing. Cool. Right, thanks to everyone that was here. Thanks to everyone in the live chat. There'll be more of these live streams coming soon. To watch all the socials and stuff like that. I'll put links to everyone's stuff in the description when the video just sits on YouTube. And again, anyone that's still here that wants to go and time code this, yeah, you're not going to get out, but I'll be happy if you do. Anyone interested in Surge? One last thing, ATK Modular said to watch Doug Linner's videos. They're a really good resource. And all this different cross-format stuff, maybe you can end on a word on this kind of thing, Tom, but I tend to find that I learn a lot not looking at Euro stuff. Obviously, I make a lot of Euro content, that's what I'm doing, but watching Doug Linner's Surge videos make me patch that differently, and I find that to be a really interesting headspace to be in. I imagine Buchla's the same.
Yeah, completely. The workflow is completely different. The layout is completely different. How you create a piece of music is completely different from format to format. Alex has probably said to you, Milo Melodies has probably said to you before, he's tried to recreate like the DFAM in Eurorack, not using a DFAM. And that kind of interesting individual ideas from these different formats really does make you think differently. It really, really does.
Yeah.
Buchla in particular, it's really weird, but very rewarding to learn. You'll love that Surge panel. That'll give you exactly the same vibe.
Yeah. Cool. Nice one. All right. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.
Bye,
guys.